By the way, another thing I've noticed in Dota, I want to get your take on it. I'll just ask it in a very naive way. I know, true, we've already discussed that TI results can be very varied compared to the rest of the year. But like, Dota seems like the worst game for like the best player in the world getting to win the World Championship, if you know what I mean. Like the amount of times in the year, either the best team or the best player just doesn't win. And combined with that, I notice because players, as you say, still have a lot of power over whether people get kicked into lineups. The people have made so many star players, superstar teams and all-star teams and people have seen people like Miracle and Arteezy and Sumail. They pretty much for many, many years have sort of like dictated the whole scene, like what they want to do and who they want to play with. But if you notice, like in the normal circuit, these are really good players, so they're going to get their results, they're going to get their finishes and their championships. But in terms of TI results, like TI seems like the most fickle tournament for these stars I've ever seen in esports.
I mean, sort of, but like Sumail and Miracle did win a TI, right? They won.
Oh, they did, but I mean, like, put it this way: if you went, if you started Dota over and you think of all the talents, you'd think these guys would win like 3 or 4 each. You know, like these are the god talents. They've had like 5-6 years of the best. Like, dude, the Arteezy one. I have to describe this to people in other games who don't know Dota because they've heard like the meme of like, haha, he never wins TI, and I'm like, no, you have to understand, he is fucking unbelievably good, and he's like, what like, forget TIs, he'd be like a top 10 player of all time, probably top 5. Let's be real. Like, he has been unbelievably good year after year after year. So when you try to explain to people why he doesn't win, you have to go into all these, like, maybe the meta was off or his team peaked too early or who the fuck knows, right? But it's like you would sort of on paper naively expect that the best players would just win a lot more, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess it is weird. Like, but I think the best players do have good finishes at TI. They just end up like not always winning, right? Like Arteezy had 3rd, I think, on EG.
Oh, he had loads, yeah.
2014, yeah. But for example, like Zai, I think Zai's probably like Zai's had like 3rd like 4 times or something. Like something ridiculous.
Do you think, let me ask you this then.
I don't know.
should it be a bit like, I don't know if you know this, but in card games like Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone, because of the card element means there's a lot more variance. In those games, you actually count like top 8s instead of like the championship, because the premise is if you're good, you're going to just generally make top 8 of the tournament more often. That's how you count them. I feel almost like it should be like that. It's like you're saying here, because actually that's a good counterpoint. If I look at it, if I do get these 2 godlike players, man, they have a lot of top 4s and they are going to finish like top 6 of many, many, many years, whether they win or lose, right? So you can't always determine the meta. I guess that does show that over history they were the best players.
Yeah, I think it's like that. I think for me personally, it's like how I define tier 1 teams is that I think tier 1 teams are teams that have a shot at winning the tournament, but will consistently place high. And tier 1 teams will always like defeat the tier 2 teams, basically.
Yes.
Like the consistency is what makes these players great, or like or a tier 1 or whatever, you know. So I think they are like, I don't know. Winning TI is so weird. Like, you're right. Like, I think a lot of the greats that you expect to have, like, honestly, it's so ridiculous that Puppy hasn't won another TI, right? With all his TI results, right? Like, he won the first one, which was like, I think even he would say it's not really the same as the later TIs, right? No, like, the format's different and, like, everything.
And nobody played the game. You know?
Yeah, nobody played the game. It's like, I think a lot of the Chinese pros during the first TI, they didn't even think it was a real game.
Exactly. Right? Didn't attend, right? Yes, exactly.
Yeah. A lot of them did attend from Dota 1. So yeah, I don't know. Like winning, that's why I also think like winning TI is a lot about luck and sort of a crapshoot. Like and I think you're right. Like in Dota, it's not always the best team that wins the tournament. It's like we talked about before, but maybe some team gets a meta advantage or they guess right under preparation. Because you're just guessing. When you play these scrims, you're guessing that the strategies you're winning with are actually good strategies. It's an educated guess, but you're still like not 100% certain. For example, like the Stockholm Major, like OG ended up winning that one, but I thought we were the best team there. We just sort of mentally choked at the end. And it just happens like that. Like, that's just how it goes. Like, at TI8, like, the reason why I got called Fluke TI was because everyone thought OGD was the best team, even though OG won.
Yes.
Which, honestly, in hindsight, is probably fair. Like, it's not like OG were undeserving or anything, but OGD were, like...
Even the way they played in the tournament, dude. Like, those 2 games they lost to OG, like, those might be some of the best games ever played, even though they lost. Like,
for sure.
Wasn't it?
I mean, how they lost was insane. Like, Anna, like, sells an item, you know? Like, just, you know... And, like, obviously he deserves credit for that, but it's also, like, sort of luck that you think of that. Yes. You have this idea, right? Like, you deserve credit for that, for the greatness, but another day you might not think of that, you know? Like, one other day, you know, you might have slept 30 minutes too little and you don't perform, and that's just what happens at TI. One day of bad sleep and you're out of the tournament. Like, that's rough, you know? Like, you worked your entire life for this.
Sure.
So, and I think also the other thing with the great players is there's also so much more pressure on them, right? Like, I feel like I can't say for Arteezy, but like when he goes into TI or Valve events, I feel like he feels insane pressure. So you know, he got second those 2 majors. Everyone's like, this is Arteezy's year. They start getting 9th to 12th at that TI. They come into this TI, they're like not performing that well. Oh, we have a good group stage. We have some hope, and then they sort of bomb out of the. Like my friend said that the SAT beat them so hard that they stole their sponsor, which I thought was really funny. Yeah, so it's just like a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of factors that go in outside of like your individual play and mechanical prowess in Dota.
Even though, as you said, like obviously you'd even had like Skitter before, but this is another player where if I said to someone, this is going to be the carry position player of a TI winning team, they would say bullshit.
Yeah, I think the public perception was even like a few months before TI, like people didn't rate Skitter that highly, but like from the inside, like he's a really important player for our team. I think Skitter might actually. I think overall Snape probably talks the most, but Skitter is probably second. And I think he makes a lot of the most important calls for us that we play around his hero. And I think it's been like that a lot, but Skitter has put the work in. He's grinded for so long. He even went to like South America when South America wasn't considered that strong a region, just because he wanted to grind it out and keep playing, keep getting better. And I think like he's always had this passion and fire, and it's actually something I'm a bit worried about now that he's won TI. Like I hope he keeps that passion and fire so we can continue. But like I think that's what's always enabled Skitter. And he's constantly watching replays of other carry players. It doesn't matter if he thinks he's better than someone or worse than someone. He'll watch the replays, see if there's something he can learn from.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.